If these leaked images are real, then Silo Season 3, Episode 7 is not just another setup episode before the endgame. It is the moment where almost every major storyline starts colliding at once. Because once you stop looking at these stills like harmless promo shots and start reading them like clues, the whole episode begins to look a lot darker. Juliette appears to be moving forward with the Silo 17 plan. Daniel and Helen look like they are being taken somewhere much bigger than a normal meeting, and Camille's expression in the main still does not look like the face of someone in control. It looks like the face of someone who knows the next move may cost her everything. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Now I want to go through this properly because the leaked image we have of Camille is actually doing a lot more than people think. On the surface, it is just another still of her in that same controlled space where she has been speaking to the algorithm, but the context around the episode title, radio, and the synopsis changes everything. Juliette is sending Lucas and Kennedy on a mission. Daniel and Helen are being offered something unexpected, and Camille is threatening Robert to tell the truth. Once you line all that up, this no longer looks like an episode about planning. It looks like an episode about exposure. In my opinion, the leaked still of Camille is not teasing power, it is teasing panic. She already acted too early with the vitamin D+ in the water. She stepped ahead of the algorithm.
And now she may be realizing that Robert has moved much further against her than she first thought. That is why I think this image matters. It is the look of someone preparing to pull the trigger on her own marriage if that is what the silo requires. And honestly, that is terrifying. Now let's move to the bigger leaked implication around Daniel and Helen, because this is where the episode could open up the entire mythology of the show. The source material suggests they are heading toward Pierre Stenson, and if that is true, then this proposition is not some small side plot. It is likely the moment the Before Times storyline finally shows us the actual purpose of the Silo project. I think the leaked angle here is very clear. Daniel and Helen are no longer investigating from the outside. They are being brought inside the lie. And if you ask me, that means they are either being recruited or being tested. Those are the only two things that make sense. Pierre and the people around him have already tried watching them, pressuring them, and controlling the flow of information. If that did not work, then Episode 7 probably becomes the hour where they change tactics and show them the bigger mission. That is why the title Radio matters so much. Communication is becoming dangerous, cross-silo contact is becoming possible, and in both timelines the people in power seem to be realizing that control over information is slipping.
Now here is the leaked images style theory I want to lock in right now. Daniel is not just being offered safety, he is being offered relevance. That is how they get him. They show him the scale of the project, explain that the end of the world cannot be stopped, only survived, and then they make him feel necessary. A man like Daniel does not get pulled in by fear first, he gets pulled in by usefulness. If his drilling tech, his politics, or his intelligence can help shape the silos, then suddenly helping the project starts sounding like responsibility instead of surrender. That is how these systems trap good people. Now let's go back to Juliette, because I think the leaked structure of this episode is clearly pointing toward movement, not just emotional movement, actual physical movement. Juliette is trying to push her plan forward, and the algorithm already told Camille that they would never make it there. That line is massive, because it means the mission is not just risky, it is already compromised. So when I look at this episode through a leaked images lens, I do not see a rescue mission, I see a trap. I think Juliette believes she is finally moving toward the answer that can stop the safeguard protocol, but the system is already repositioning around her. Every still we have feels like people moving into place before the floor drops out beneath them.
That is what makes this exciting. We are no longer dealing with hidden danger. We are dealing with visible danger that the characters cannot fully see yet. Now let me rewind for a second and talk about Robert, because the synopsis line about Camille threatening him is probably the strongest piece of evidence we have for where this episode is headed emotionally. If she is demanding the truth now, that means she already knows enough to be afraid. And once Camille gets afraid, she does not soften. she hardens. That is why I do not think the leaked image of her is teasing doubt. I think it is teasing resolve. She may not know every part of Robert's plan yet, but she knows he's gone against her. And if she believes he is now a threat to the silo, then in her mind, there is no marriage left to protect, only order. That is what makes this one of the darkest relationship arcs in the show. They are not drifting apart because of emotion. They are being split by ideology. One of them still thinks people matter more than the system. The other is starting to believe the system matters more than any one person. That is not something you come back from easily. Now, let's talk about the other clue hidden inside the title itself, because radio is probably not just about Martha's communication setup. It could also be about the idea that messages are finally starting to move where they were never supposed to, between silos, between timelines, between people who still think they are in control and people who are finally waking up.
If Lucas and Kennedy really do move towards Silo 17, then communication becomes the most dangerous thing in the entire story. The second different silos begin sharing truth, the algorithm loses its strongest weapon, isolation. And if Daniel and Helen are simultaneously being shown the future version of that same control system, then the episode is thematically doing the same thing in both eras. It is showing us what happens when secrets start trying to travel. That is why this episode feels so important, not because one giant thing happens, but because multiple storylines may all hit the same truth from different directions. Before I finish, here is the fast-fire version of what I think the leaks are really showing us. Camille is no longer stable, and the still of her confirms that the pressure is finally landing. Robert's hidden alliance with Juliette and Bernard is getting too big to contain. Daniel and Helen are likely being brought into the actual silo project, not just another conversation. Juliette's mission with Lucas and Kennedy is already compromised. The title radio means communication is now the most dangerous thing in the story. And this may be the exact episode where every side starts realizing they are all connected to the same collapsing system. But anyway, that is my corrected leaked images style breakdown for Silo Season 3, Episode 7, and what I think these details are really telling us. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, do you think Camille's expression in that image is fear, rage, or the moment she decides Robert is already dead to her? I will catch you in the next one.